This is Algebra 1, Lesson 36, Practice. We're going to do some problems using the distributive property with rational expressions, and then a few problems simplifying minus signs and negative exponents. For problem A, we're going to expand using the distributive property, and we have a factor outside of the parentheses, and that's going to be distributed to both terms inside of the parentheses, and we're going to first distribute it to the first one here. X squared times x squared would give me x to the fourth, and y times y would give me y squared. Then I'm going to multiply by the second term. So I've got a minus in between them. X squared times 3y squared would just be 3x squared y squared. And then y times m, I'll put it in alphabetical, is my. That's your answer for problem A. Is it the answer to problem A? Actually, after I circled it, I realized it could be simplified. What do you notice there that could be simplified? Nothing in the first term, because you have x's and y's. But what about the second term? Right here. It almost got me. I can simplify that. So I'm going to copy down the first term. We'll do it over here. X to the fourth over y squared minus. And I've still got a 3 and an x squared. And one of the y's in the numerator is going to cancel with one of the y's in the denominator. And there's your simplified answer. So make sure you simplify when you distribute. Here's B. All right, we're going to multiply this factor on the outside times the first term. And then we'll get to these other terms in just a second. There are 3. We're going to do AM times XM, which is going to be AM squared X. And then we've got B squared times AB. So you'll still have the A. And then the B squared times the B is B cubed. And you can already see we're going to be able to simplify some here. Minus. Now I'm going to do the factor on the outside times this second term. Now it's not a fraction, so let's put it over 1 to make it a fraction. And we have AM times 3AB. Well, we'll still have the 3, and the A times the A will be A squared. And then we'll have the B, and then we'll have the M. B squared times 1 is B squared. Do you see something that'll simplify? All right, next we're going to multiply it times the third term. And we'll have a plus sign here in between them. That's important. 6m over here times this AM. So we're going to have 6 because the number goes first. A and then m squared. Over b squared times b squared is b to the fourth. Okay. Now I can start simplifying. I have an A and an A here. And if you divide the top and the bottom by A, those will cancel out. So you just have m squared x in the numerator and b cubed in the denominator. Minus, notice that we have a b here and we have a b squared here. That means that b in the numerator is going to cancel out. And you'll still have a b left down in the denominator. Plus, and we don't have anything that'll cancel here. So this should be our final answer. Okay, then we're going to move on to simplifying some negative exponents. Maybe some negative bases, and then thinking about it also as an opposite. So first here, I can put my finger over this negative that's in the front. It's not protected by any parentheses. And I can see that with that negative exponent, I have a reciprocal, and that's going to be 4 squared. Now I can uncover that opposite and put it there. So that's going to be negative 1 over 4 squared, which is 16. So your answer is negative 1/16. For D, I see that I've got a negative exponent in the denominator, okay? And the way the book explains this is you can change the sign of that exponent if you move it to the other side of the fraction. So it's in the denominator now, and we can move it to the numerator if we change it to a positive 2. And that would just be equal to 16. And it looks like there was supposed to be a negative in front of this one, was there? Let me look. Yes, there was, and I believe I did not copy it correctly. So let me fix that. There's a negative there, which would mean there would be a negative there, okay? So let me go back and explain here. I would put my finger over this and calculate 4 squared, which is 16, and then take the opposite, which is negative 16. Sorry about that miscopy. This should be a negative. All right, let's look at E. For E, I have several negative symbols going on. Well, I can put my finger over this one because it's not protected. I can go ahead and say that this is going to tell me that negative here is telling me I've got a reciprocal, and it's the reciprocal of negative 4 cubed, okay? Then I can take my finger off of this and say that whole thing, we're taking the opposite of it. All right, let's do that. So we're going to have a negative, and we have a 1 over. Negative 4 cubed is the same as negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16, and 16 times 4 is 64, but that's a negative, so negative 64. Okay, now we have here the opposite of this negative number, which means it's going to end up being positive. So that's going to be positive 1/64 for E. Let's look at F. Ooh, lots of stuff going on. Now we just did notice this denominator. We just did that whole thing, and we found out that that answer was 1/64. So this is really just 1 over 1/64, right? Because this value is what's equal to that denominator. What happens when you have a 1 divided by and then a fraction? Well, you can remember it flips it, but why is that? So let me quickly remind you. This is like 1 divided by 1/64. And when you multiply fractions, you keep, change, flip. That's how it ends up flipping. 1 times 64 over 1, which is just equal to 64. So you could see from here that when you have a 1 divided by a fraction, it just flips that fraction, and we're going to have it be 64. Now, I had my, no, that's right. And positive 64. I was thinking, did I have my finger over this? But I didn't. No. So watch that in Saxon, that sometimes they will use the same problem, and you can refer to above and already know what that value is from the problem above it.